What's going on, guys? My name is Arrow, and in today's video, I want to talk about PoE 2, what the developers got right and what they got wrong. This is not going to be a balanced discussion, but more a chance to talk about core design philosophy that is going in the right or wrong direction. Let's start with something that it got right, changing the crafting bench into runes. Runes are far more interesting than a crafting bench, and they allow you to get 6 mods on your item that are potentially perfect and then rune crafts on top. Prior, perfect items, sometimes even mirror items, would only have 5 mods and then 1 slightly less valuable crafted mod. Now, we'll get to crafting later, but the ability to make a 6 mod item that still has some customization available to it is really nice. Now, the change to allow you to re-socket runes in soul cores was massive, and it completely saved this system. Now, to something they got wrong. Crafting. Picking up and exalting items is just a wisdom scroll with more steps and more cost. Currently, there are very few crafting systems in the game, and I know this will change over time, but all we can talk about right now is the current state of the game. Essences are very weak and require you to pick up hundreds of bases and purchase hundreds of greater essences because these are not available to farm on your own. They are simply too rare to give yourself a chance at making some 3 mod items that might be useful. After that, you're back to Exalt Slams. The only alternative to this is omens. Omens are still prohibitively expensive, and not just the average player, but 99.9% of players cannot use these omens because they are so rare. Even if you find one on your own in SSF, one is not going to be enough to craft an item. You need a huge pile of divines before you can craft an item with omens. I do like the base of crafting in PoE 2 in that there are no reroll currencies like scours and alterations, but there needs to be significantly more options to make our own items in PoE 2. Hey, if you like this sort of content, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, etc. And then stop by my Twitch, twitch.tv/AER0__. We have a ton of fun over there. We look forward to seeing you. Back to the video. Another thing PoE 2 got right was spirit reservation instead of mana. Mana reservation was an unfortunate side effect of many years of GGG removing mana as a resource. Skills would get things like minus cost, minus percent cost, and then instant leech came into the picture and basically removed the need to worry about mana. You basically just wanted to reserve as much as possible and get your mana cost as low as possible on most builds, so that mana was just not something that you thought about other than reservation. With Spirit, now mana is back to being a true resource, for better or worse. We'll talk more about that later. And Spirit is a very cool separate scaling options that allows you to do not just adding buffs to your build, but more totems, more minions. I think Spirit is very cool. It's a great resource, and it is far superior to mana reservation in PoE 1. The second thing that PoE 2 gets wrong is the passive tree. The starter areas are prohibitively distant from one another, creating awkward scenarios of 5-6 travel points just to get to a useful node, and makes pathing around the tree very challenging. Having so many travel nodes between starting areas makes it really difficult for something like a Titan spellcaster or a monk that uses slams. One of the great things about PoE is its build diversity, that you feel like you can do anything in the game, and I don't feel that way right now. Another reason for that, sticking with the passive tree, is attributes. Attributes on the tree for travel nodes have been halved from 10 to 5 from PoE 1 to PoE 2, but our attribute requirements have increased. Gems items cost more than ever, so making a build that does not specialize in the main attribute of that gem is basically impossible. Strength stacking spellcasters, for example, pretty much can't be done outside of a gemling. These two things combined make it so it feels way too challenging to make a build that isn't on rails. Of course, you can make a mana stacking spellcasting Stormweaver, but if you want to move that to a ranger, you better be using an OP skill. Another thing that PoE 2 got right is the campaign. The campaign feels like what PoE 2 was meant to be like. Fighting bosses is extraordinarily fun. Fighting packs of monsters is fun. Some of the zones are a little bit too big, but I feel like they have absolutely crushed the campaign so far. Combat feels appropriate. Monsters aren't too fast. Most skills feel viable, and the speed at which you progress feels pretty consistent. I think the campaign in PoE 2 is phenomenal so far, and I cannot wait for them to release more acts. And in that same vein, another thing that PoE 2 gets wrong is the speed of gameplay. After the campaign ends, the love story that I have with fighting monsters ends. What makes the campaign feel so good is what makes the endgame feel so bad. The balance of speed of monsters is completely thrown off in the endgame and doesn't allow you to engage with them as GGG seemingly intended. A Turbo Breach Deli Rare that's moving at 200% move speed is going to inevitably be faster than you. When monsters are consistently faster than you, your only options are to kill them before they get to you, or be able to face tank every monster in the game. Getting very tanky in PoE 2 comes at a very, very high cost. It doesn't feel particularly worth it, which is why you're seeing so many people playing glass cannons and solving the problem of PoE 2 gameplay speed with a kill or be killed mindset. Monsters in the endgame are so fast that they often beat me to the end of my dodge roll. This effectively turns my dodge roll into a self-stun, where when I come out of it, all the monsters are there waiting for me to beat my face in. Either players need more speed in the endgame, or monsters need less. I don't think there's another solution for this. Another thing PoE 2 gets right, and this is going to seem obvious, is the visuals. The world that they have created is unbelievable. It looks amazing. The bosses look amazing. The skills look amazing. They're doing work on visual clarity, which is very nice, but it simply is an incredibly gorgeous game, and they did a phenomenal job. But another thing that PoE 2 gets wrong is the weapon swap. When combined with infinite 6 links, this just gives everybody a way to take the best skill in their archetype and use it as a single target machine. I played Ice Shot and had an absolute blast with it. There simply was not a way to get enough damage with a cold skill to do single target on +4, +5 map bosses, never mind pinnacle bosses. So I was forced to do what just about everybody else was doing, and that was Ball Lightning Lightning Rod. Because I can have a second 6 link and I can also have a weapon swap, it makes it so it was trivial for me to add this to my build. I pathed out of all of the chain and fork nodes. I turned them into lightning pen nodes and lightning lucky nodes, and poof, my single target is solved. But what this does is it creates archetypes that all flow into the same thing. Single target is very important in PoE 2, and you can't really make a true mapper that doesn't care about boss damage. Just about every archetype in the game has its best in slot single target delivery mechanism, and you're just going to see a lot of builds that are all using the same thing for single target and slightly varying on their clear. I think this is a big problem for build diversity. Build diversity is super important to me, and I really hope they can find a solution to this. Another thing GGG got right with PoE 2 are bosses. Bosses are incredibly fun to engage with. They're challenging, they're dodgeable, they telegraph almost all of their attacks and spells, so you feel like you're meant to engage with them. There are obviously some bosses that people do not like, and that is totally fair. Not all of them are perfect, but for the most part, particularly in the campaign, bosses are incredibly fun to engage with. This is coming from someone in PoE 1 who almost exclusively played mapping builds. I love mapping or waystoning, but I really do enjoy the bosses in PoE 2. All right, let's end this on a double negative. I've got 2 things left that GGG got wrong in PoE 2. Number 1, flasks to charms. Flasks in PoE 1 were annoying, but they solved a lot of the problems with the quality of life features that were added in recent years. Charms feel completely useless. Outside of slow, freeze, and stun, even which they are not that effective at that, they feel absolutely horrible to use. The rolls on them are absolutely ridiculous, getting 15 mana when one goes off once every 3 minutes. I'm not really entirely sure what their goal was with charms, but whatever it was, it missed the mark. Now, I know charms were a recent addition, so I'm not going to harp on this too much, but another problem that is presented is that if you're using a unique belt, you can't get any additional charms. It feels like charms are a thing that should be earned throughout the story, or maybe throughout maps, where you get an additional charm slot unlocked instead of having to have it as an affix on your belt. You want to use a unique belt, you get 1 charm. You want to use a rare belt with 3 good suffixes, you get 1 charm. I'm not in love with this system, and I hope it moves on quickly. The last thing on my list of things that GGG got wrong are mana cost. Mana costs are absolutely insane on just about every gem in the game when you scale them to high levels. Being that gem levels is the best way to scale damage in PoE 2, it effectively forces every build to solve a massive mana problem. This obviously creates problems for any build that uses a big attack slam like Hammer of the Gods, something like that, particularly if you use life tap, as it can get into the thousands of life cost. But even worse is mana for spellcasters. Scaling gem levels on a spellcaster basically requires you to invest so much into mana that you might as well throw Archmage in and double your damage. This makes builds feel very samey, narrowing build diversity even more. Now, this was obviously not a comprehensive list of ups and downs, but I wanted to share some of my thoughts on design decisions, try to help direct the conversation somewhere useful. I have strong feelings that GGG will get balance correct in the long term. They've proven with PoE 1 that they can figure out some basic balance changes. So that's why I didn't really talk about anything like that in this video. So that's going to be it from me. If you enjoy this sort of content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what your least favorite or favorite thing about PoE 2 is. More importantly, stop by my Twitch, drop that Twitch Prime, twitch.tv/AER0__. I'm live every single day, and I will be going live right after this video. So thank you so much for watching. And as always, take care.